Okay, this is the video tutorial to go with lesson 9.8.2. This is simplifying exponents using the power rule. We actually saw the power rule a little bit at the end of last lesson, but we're going to take a proper look at it in this lesson. So power to a power basically refers to having two powers within the same question, one inside the parentheses and one outside the parentheses, as you can see on both of these two examples. And the one on the right shows you what the rule is straight away. You just multiply the two powers together. And the one on the left here shows you what this actually means. Something to the power of 5 means you would actually write this out 5 times. And using our rule of exponents, when we multiply, we would add these all together. So 2, add 2, add 2, add 2, which is 10. Of course, it's much quicker just to say that 2 times 5 is 10. Notice the base stays the same. So this would be 4 to the power of 10. And this is just x to the power of ab. But when we have these exponents inside and outside, we multiply them together, but the base stays the same. And we can see that much clearer if we have this example here. 2 cubed to the power of 4 means write 2 cubed out 4 times. If you were to add all those exponents together, then you would find out that it's 12. Notice I'm not multiplying the 2's, I'm just adding the exponents, but keeping that base the same. So I'm not doing 16 to the power of 12, I'm just doing 2 to the power of 12. Notice we could have done that quickly just by doing the 3 times 4. This is another example just to show you that same idea. So x4 to the power of 3 means you write out x to the 4th 3 times. If necessary, you could split x to the 4th up, meaning x 4 times. That would be this one, and this would be the third set. And notice in total, you have 12 x's multiplied together, so x to the 12. Or we can just do 3 times 4 to make this much easier to see. And I think this is just one final example, 5 to the 3 to the power of 4. So it means write it out 4 times, add all the exponents together, 3 add 3 add 3 add 3 is 12. Keep the base the same, but notice even quicker than that, we can literally just say 3 times 4 is 12 and then keep the same base. So keep an eye out for that rule. When we have something raised to a power, raised to a second power, then you just multiply the two exponents together. So if we have a question like a to the power of 4 to the power of 6, all I'm actually doing is then I'm doing 4 times 6. And for that reason, you could obviously fill in the space there. That would be a to the power of 24. Let me see if it'll actually let me write it in here. Oh, there we go. That's probably even easier to do. And then you can see that says good work. 4 squared to the power of 4. So I got my two exponents. So 2 times 4 is 8. So the answer should just be 4 to the power of 8. And then now we have a little matching exercise. So sometimes they'll have the answers written in different forms, and you'll actually have to compare the two things. Now, I'm not sure how many of these actually match up. Oh, match 3 equivalent cards. I guess reading would always be a good idea. It says there's an unsimplified expression, an expanded expression, and a simplified expression. So as often is the case with these, perhaps it would be easier if I actually put these in some sort of order and made them kind of look the same here. So I'm doing the expanded ones in the middle, where I'm multiplying things together. I'm putting all the answers on one side, and I'm putting my power to the power on the other side. So I'll take a power to the power one, and we'll go from here. So 4 times 3 is 12. So that would go there. And this means x4 multiplied together 3 times, which would be this one. So I'm going to join all these together. Whoops, I'm going to try and join all these together. There we go. Now, I believe for this activity, there is a check your thing. So I got 3 out of 15 because I've only done one question so far. All right, let me take the next one then. So 2 times 5 is 10. So that would join up there. And 2 and 5 times means I've got an x squared written out 5 times. And let's see if we can join that together. There we go. As I'm starting to get a little less room, let me move these across a little bit. 3 times 6 is 18. And it means x cubed written out 6 times. And I'll drag that here. 8 times 2 is 16. And it means 8x to the 8 written out 2 times. And obviously the last one goes together, but let's see why. 7 times 4 is 28. And it says to the power of 4, so we should be written out 4 times. And then hopefully now, there we go. It says that we all have them all correct. Now, if we have two parts inside the parentheses like this, then basically we have to do the power to each of these terms. We'd have to do a to the power of m and b to the power of m. So for 2a all squared, which is how we say this, I would square the 2 and I would also square the a. So 2 squared is 4 and a squared is obviously just a squared, so 4a squared. Now, there is another way you can actually do this as well, and I actually personally prefer this method. So for this question here, where it says 2a squared, I would actually write out 2a 2 times. So I would actually do that expanded form. And the reason I do that is now you can do your basic multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4, and then a times a is a squared. So that links in with something that you've done in a previous unit, and it kind of avoids having to remember this rule specifically. Let me move on to the next one. So yeah, be very careful on this question. It is dangerous when you see, oh, look, I remember saying multiply the powers. 3 times 4 is 12, so 2n to the power, which would not be true for this. You'd have to do 2 to the power of 4, which is 16, and then you could do 3 times 4 is 12. So we've got to be a little careful on questions like this. So in expanded form, and I'm not exactly sure what this is looking for. I'm hoping that this is exactly how it wants me to type it. Basically, I want to multiply 3x together 4 times. Okay, it's happy with that. So 3 times 3 times 3, if you're not sure, you can just use your calculator. And x times x times x times x, so there's 4 x's there. That would be x to the power of 4. So I do like that idea of writing out in expanded form rather than just saying the alternative, if it'll let me do it here, saying 3 to the power of 4 and then x to the power of 4. You can certainly do that, but I think sometimes students make more mistakes when they try and do that and put that step out. All right, let's move on to slide 13. So similar idea. Oh, this time though, we got a negative exponent. So you can't really write something out negative 2 times. So I'm going to take the wrong answer for this question, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to write it out 2 times. So 5a times 5a, which when I work it out gives me 25a squared. 5 times 5, and then a times a. Now, as it's got a negative exponent, though, that means that I've got to do the division question. So anything that's on the top moves to the bottom. So 25a squared would move to the bottom. And we have to put something on the top. So we put 1. And remember, we're not using negative exponents for this. So I'm not going to put like 1 over 25a to the negative 2 or anything like that. So with it being the negative exponent here, I worked it out with the squared. And then I dealt with a negative at the end by changing it into a fraction. So that can understandably be a little bit more complicated. And this is talking about that same rule again. Make sure when there's 2 terms, we apply to both. So let's take a look at some of those. So 2d cubed to the power of 5 means I got to do 2d cubed times by, and this is going to take a little while for me to do, 2d cubed, because I'm typing, which is not so easy to do, times by 2d cubed times by 2d. So I'm doing this 5 times. Hopefully we never get a question where it says 100 or anything like that, but we could always use that as a method if it came to that. So numbers first, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 32. And then for the d's, we can just add the exponents together. 3, add 3, add 3, add 3 is 15. And notice we could have got the 15 from here as well, 3 times 5. This one probably will say no because I didn't quite type it incorrect, but I'm not too worried about the typing. I'm more interested in the method at this point. Another one with a negative exponent. So I'm actually going to ignore the negative to begin with. I'm just going to work out what 7x cubed times by 7x cubed is. So 7 times 7 is 49. And add the exponents. 3 add 3 is 6. Whoops. So that's supposed to be to the power of 6. Here we go. So as it's actually a negative, then that means this is a fraction. To get a fraction, I just click the slash symbol. So I'm going to put 1 on the top of the fraction, and then on the bottom, I'm going to put this 49x to the power of 6. And that looks good. Let me just see if I can clear all those. There we go. I didn't realize those annotations were still on. I don't really use those very often normally. All right, same idea again. This time we got 2 exponents inside. We're saying we're going to do this term to this power and this term to this power. So let's take a look at what we have here. So this time it's saying you don't actually need to write it out if you don't want to, or the previous slide said that. I'm going to. I'm going to put my x to the 10, y to the power of 12, and I'm going to do it again. X to the power of 10, y to the power of 12. So I wrote it out 2 times, and now I'm going to work this out. So I'm adding exponents. So 10 add 10 is 20, and 12 add 12 is 24. As it's a negative exponent, that means that I'm going to be doing a fraction for this. So I'm going to be moving these terms to the bottom here. So this is x to the 20, and this is y to the power of 24. Okay, that looks good. So just be careful with negative exponents. Just ignore the negative to begin with, and then at the end, do the reciprocal. Move terms from the top to the bottom like you did in lesson 1. Same idea. We could write this out 3 times and then do the reciprocal. Let me show you the other way we can do this question. We can use power to the power rule if we prefer. So -7 times -3 is 21. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and write the answer straight down here then. Oops. And 8 times -3 is -24. Now, when I can't leave negative exponents in my answer, so I got to think about what that actually means. So the negative exponent means that I bring it to the bottom of the question. And you might actually prefer that method because it's a little quicker. But sometimes people make mistakes when they don't write it out 3 times and then do the reciprocal. So I'm going to leave that one as a decision for other people to make, which one you prefer. Sometimes I use one method, sometimes I use another. This is basically saying with 3 terms, we're just going to do the same thing. It doesn't really matter how many terms we have. We're just going to apply the rule to each one. So if I was to write this out 4 times, and to the power of 3, that's 1, 2m squared, n to the power of 3, 2m squared. And admittedly, this is a little time consuming, but you won't normally have to do this. If you were doing, you'll only get a few of these questions. You're not going to get as many as you do when you practice this for the first time. There we go. Whoops, 3. And it might be easier for you to write on here, particularly if you have a touch screen. So as we're doing numbers, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. 2, add 2, add 2, add 2, because we're multiplying here. That will give me m to the 8, and 3 add 3 add 3 add 3 would give me 12. If you're going for the short method, 2 to the power of 4 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. So kind of a personal preference, which one you prefer to do. So I'll do the shortcut method this time then. So I'll do -3 squared, which is 9. My exponents I'm going to multiply. So 5 times 2 is 10. So c to the power of 10. And -4 times 2 is -8. I can't leave that on the top of the fraction now. So I'm just going to bring it to the bottom and get rid of my negative exponent. All right, looks like we have a few questions to do again. Probably going to have to sort through these cards. So let me put all the ones that are multiplied out long ways first. Oh gosh, these take up quite a bit of space. And then I'm going to put the ones with parentheses over this side. And the ones that don't have parentheses, I'm going to put this side. Oops. And then that one goes over here. Looks like I might have some terms left over here. Oh, 2 cards will be left unused. Okay, did not see that to begin with. So I think we would normally start with here. So I'm going to work this part out first. So 4 squared. So that means I'm doing 4 times 4. So I know it's this one here. X squared. There's x squared. And I got to write y cubed 2 times. So that one looks good. As I work it out, 4 squared is 16. Ooh, there's a couple with 16 here. X squared. And then 3 times 2 is 6. So certainly it's going to be y to the 6. You could just count those together as well. That's that one done. Let me pick another one. Oops, that's the same card. Let me go with this one this time. So I know this means I've got to multiply 2 together 3 times. So I can see it's this one here. Multiply the exponents. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 cubed is 8, meaning that those all go together as well. Not very much room for this exercise. Oops, that one's supposed to go over here. Let's try this one. So I can see I got 4 cubed, which I know means multiply 4s together. And at the same time, I'm going to bring this one across here as well. Same thing, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. 4 cubed is 64. So I would have to drag all those together as well. I have a feeling I might have lost a card somewhere along here as I was working, but hey, we will try and work this out as we go along. Oh, there's 2 left from this one. That's right. 2 to the power of 4 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8. So there we go. Those ones all go together. Oops. And those are my 2 left over. And that looks pretty good. One final challenge, some bonus questions here. So power to a power, when we multiply these together, we know we get 72. So p times -9 is 72. So just think which number times -9 gives you 72. And it should be -8. -8 times -9 is 72. Question 2. This time I'm multiplying again. -2 times p is -8. You can solve on the calculator if you need to. I know that -2 times +4 is -8. So really, we're just doing basic multiplication here. This one a little bit more confusing. Power to a power here. So I got 3 times p, but also I have a times by w squared. So when we times, we add the exponents. So 2 add 3p is 23. I'm just going to show you that it's 7 and show you why. 2 plus 3 times 7, 2 plus 21 does indeed give you 23. And you can check your answer for that. Go back and take a look at those rules from lesson 1, combine them with lesson 2. There's only one more lesson in this unit, so we're making pretty good progress so far.